There is some criticism of the White House Correspondents Dinner. I've criticized it in the past. I've also gone to it, and I'll explain what I think is the difference in a minute. But first, I wanted to go to Tom Brokaw's criticism. First, a succinct point he made recently when challenged about his earlier criticism. Let's watch.
What we're doing with that dinner, as it has been constituted for the past several years, is saying, we're Versailles. We'll let the rest of you eat cake.
That's a very succinct way of putting it. And now he's been criticizing this dinner for a couple of years now. Let me show you what he said back in 2012. If there's ever an event that separates the press from the people, it's supposed to serve symbolically. It's that one. It is time to rethink it. I don't think the big press event in Washington should be that kind of glittering event where the whole talk is about Cristal champagne, who had the best party, and who got to meet the most people. And believe me, that's what all the talk is about, okay? And everybody's so self-satisfied at the dinner, and they love rubbing elbows with, oh, there's the General Shelton. I do declare, how are you? Oh, look at that. That's, I was going to say Bob Novak, but wrong again, Bob. Bob's dead. But you get it, the reporters, oh, Joe Klein, oh, from Time Magazine, oh, fantastic, right? And they're very, very chummy, and everybody says it and everybody admits it. Now, Noah Rothman, who's a conservative for Mediaite, but who agrees our contempt here, put it really well, so I wanted to quote him. He said, this month, E! Entertainment Network announced that they would live stream the red carpet at the White House Correspondents Dinner on Saturday night for the first time. The nexus of celebrity, journalist, and politician is finally complete. That's so true. What are you wearing? Who cares what you're wearing? You're supposed to be a watchdog of the government. And now, on the other end of the spectrum, and I don't know Leibovich's politics, but I do know his contempt for Washington. He's a reporter for New York Times Magazine. He's about to come up with a big book about Washington, D.C. and how incestuous it is. Politico's already done a preemptive strike on him. How dare you? And Politico, of course, is the protector of the Washington, D.C. establishment. And he was being interviewed, and he had some really good points to make about the dinner as well.
There's a level of self-congratulation and self-celebration and so forth that can be very, somewhat at odds with the mood of the rest of the country and how people view the media.
Now, the New York Times does not attend the Correspondents' Dinner anymore. Why is that?
Well, I think the reasoning is, and Dean Baquet, who was then the Washington bureau chief, and I think this was around 2007, decided that it just felt too cozy. It felt too, not too festive, but it did not feel like the right message to be sending to our readers to really be, in such a chummy and sort of festive setting with the people we're covering. And
I think the New York Times is overall right about that. Now, I have attended the dinner, so why is that the case? Well, look, I think that if you did this one night of the year, and it was kind of awkward because otherwise you're at each other's throats, and those are the people who are the watchdog of the government. Remember, that's what the fourth estate is supposed to be. The media is supposed to say, we're looking out for the people of this country, and we're going to make sure the government is in check. And so that night would be super awkward, like, oh, that's the guy I criticize all the time. Oh, that's the story I broke about a scandal that politician has. Well, then I would say that's great. If it's the exception in that 364 days out of the year, the press is holding the government accountable, great. And the one day they get together and they're friendly and they eat dinner together, I would say that makes a ton of sense. And I would go, and I've got no problems with that. The problem is, as I went and I saw it, and I told you guys when I went, it's not the exception. It's the rule. They're chummy every day. They're not holding those people accountable. And most of the people in that room are there because they didn't hold the government accountable, because they give them a free pass. Because if you ruffle feathers, you're gone. You don't get access to those politicians, and you get moved out of important spots, whether it's on TV or elsewhere. So New York Times is right overall when they say it is too cozy. And it's too cozy 365 days out of the year. It's not the exception, it's the rule. And that's the real problem with the dinner.